Hello and welcome to today's episode of the On the Up podcast brought to you from Moneypenny. I'm your host Dan Marshall, and today I'm joined by Chris and Guy Setford to talk about how they've created and maintained a growth culture in their business. Chris and Guy are the founders and co-CEOs at Setfords Solicitors, a UK top 100 law firm recognised as innovative and pioneering. They've consistently been one of the fastest growing firms in the UK, driven by investing in their culture and technology. Chris, Guy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it. Maybe you'd like to kick off by telling us a little bit more about Setfords and your journey so far.
Yeah, sure. Setfords is a platform law firm, tech-enabled platform law firm. Guy founded the practice in 2006, and I joined him a couple of years later. And we took on our first consultants around 2008, 2009, and we've been organically growing the business ever since. Today, we're at about 580 lawyers on the platform and about 140 support staff, predominantly working out of Guildford, our head office, but some do work from London and some other locations around the country. But our lawyers, they are self-employed and therefore they're masters of their own destiny. And we concentrate on providing the right infrastructure, the right support, and the right technology in order to allow them to do their best work, to look after their clients, and to live the professional lives that they want. And when we started this many years ago, there certainly wasn't another firm that was doing this nationally and across all disciplines, which is something that certainly we've been focusing on now since we started the business.
Yeah. I mean, we were able to draw on some of our own experiences as lawyers. We qualified quite a few years ago now, and recognised some of the shortcomings in traditional law firms, really, and felt that we could create a better environment for lawyers. And that's really what we set out to do at the beginning. And I think part of the reason for the business's success actually has been the fact that Chris and I were both very aligned around what we wanted to do. It was a shared vision and shared thoughts around what we felt lawyers really wanted from their careers. And we took a lot of time at the beginning as well to really lay out the foundations for the business and to properly plan everything out. We've still got the same fee share arrangement with our lawyers that we had on day one, which is an example of where there's been a lot of consistency through the years that we've been running the business. And that's because we thought it through. We gave consideration to everything that we wanted to do. And really support was probably one of the top issues for us to address, because in our experience, for lawyers to do their best work, they need to be properly supported by the business that's around them, to enable the lawyers to focus on what they do best, which is providing the legal service to the clients and developing relationships with their clients. And that's proven to be very successful for us.
Excellent. One of the things I noticed when I was doing some research was that you guys are constantly on different lists for fastest growing companies and things like that, and you've won a number of awards as well around that. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the driver behind some of that.
Yeah, I think we've been very clear from the start about what separates us, perhaps from some of the other firms that compete in our corner of the market, and also what separates us from traditional law firms. When we set this up, working with lawyers as consultants and allowing them the complete freedom to determine where they want to work, when they want to work, and how they want to work was incredibly important. But that shouldn't mean that their lawyers have to sacrifice good support, good technology, and a whole raft of other areas of support that we've layered into our business over the last sort of 15, 16 years, including marketing and BD support, and we generate a lot of work for our lawyers. So we were clear that we wanted to provide the right home for lawyers and to give them a new opportunity to sort of drive their careers in a way that just simply didn't exist 20 years ago. but at the same time make sure they were receiving Rolls-Royce support and in the areas that I've already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key factors along the lines of what Chris has just mentioned is there's been a continuous investment in the business in terms of technology, support, and people, and that's driven the growth culture, along with innovation. That we're constantly innovating and looking for ways to improve what we do, and I think that's probably at the heart of a growth culture is taking that approach. We've grown organically over all these years, every single year since the business was founded, and that's because of our drive to continuously improve what we're doing. I think it's fundamental to success for any business that wants to, basically continue growing. We're not a static business. We never have been, and we'll continue doing that regardless of how big the business gets. There's always room for improvement and innovation in, particularly in our business.
And we're the best. I mean, look, to be quite frank, we're the best at what we do, and it's that reputation over many years, consistency, and a really good reputation for service delivery at our end that has generated the interest and therefore the applications that we've received from lawyers that wish to join our platform. So, even today we receive 150 to 200 applications a month, direct applications from people in the legal industry, lawyers that want to join our business. So, last year, in our last financial year, we welcomed 180 new lawyers onto the Setfords platform, and it's the lawyers that are coming to us that are making that career choice. That is what's driving that growth. And as a result, the awards that you've already mentioned.
Great. That sounds like an awful lot of people to be approaching the law firm directly. What do you think drives that? Do you think it's more a question of the model that you've built or the culture that you guys have become recognised for? Or is it a kind of combination of the both?
I think it's both. I mean, of the 180 lawyers that joined last year, a good chunk of those lawyers came on board because the lawyers that are already working with us had gone out, had recommended to their friends, look, if come and take a look at what we're doing at Setfords. And they wouldn't do that if there wasn't a good culture, if they weren't having a good, a positive experience. So I think culture has played a key part in terms of the lawyers that we already work with, reaching out to their contacts and their relationships and saying, look, this is a really great place to be a lawyer. You come and take a look. So of course that's important, but equally, the culture that we have internally amongst employed staff that are providing the support that we provide is just as important. We've been doing this a long time now, and some of the people that are with us today, they started with us 15, 16 years ago, and they're still here. And every day their roles are everybody here is focused on providing a really high level of support and a good home for our lawyers, so that our lawyers feel comfortable, supported, that they're a part of a really sort of positive community. So I think it's both, but the culture that we've sort of built from scratch over many years, I think it flows through everything we do here internally in terms of looking after our lawyers and also the lawyers themselves within the network around the country.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked hard on developing a people-first culture for all the reasons Chris just mentioned. It's important to us that we look after all of the people that are in the business, including, the head office staff and the lawyers. And I think that carries through the business, and people appreciate that. It's something that we've always done. We've always taken that same approach because we believe it's the right way to run the business.
Makes sense. I think it's really interesting that you mentioned about people that have been with you on the journey for a long time, with 15 years plus. It's actually very similar to kind of what it's like at Moneypenny as well. I think it's a really great thing when there are people that have been with the business for a long time, and here at Moneypenny we've got the names of those people up on the walls, so the people are being really recognised. And I know lots of people will say things like, we've got a great culture, we're doing a lot for our people, but the proof's really kind of in the people staying with the business for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. And the growth point that you raise, it's an important part of that. the people that work here understand that the growth of the business provides them with more opportunities. So, some of the people that have been here for that long, for 15 years, they came in and it might have been in many instances it was a starter role. They were at the start of their careers. They've progressed their careers through this business, and in most instances they're either C-suite, senior members. They've moved from support departments in terms of legal service delivery into marketing. They've moved into sales. They've moved across the business. And as we've grown the business and built out departments and built out the different sort of layers of support that we provide our lawyers, that's provided additional opportunities for our staff. So I think the first question you asked is how integrated is growth to culture. I think very, because the people here within the business understand what they're working for.
Yeah, and the lawyer base, we've also, part of our support offering is we've got a wellbeing department within the business. We're one of the first law firms to introduce that department. It provides an extra layer of support to our lawyers. It's an opportunity for us to find out, ways we might be able to improve what we're doing. It's a way of identifying which lawyers might want to work together. And it really helps create a real community feel amongst our lawyer base, which is also really important to our growth journey. People feel part of something here, despite the fact that lawyers mostly are working remotely from home or from a hub office somewhere else in the country. They feel part of something, they feel included. And that's also been part of the success story for us.
That sounds great. There's quite a few things there that you mentioned are quite interesting. I noted down that you mentioned about creating that people first culture and creating those kind of well-being initiatives in the business. So it'd be good to understand a little bit more about kind of what that means and how you use that to build the relationships with the lawyers that work for you.
Well, there's constant communication every day between our head office staff and our lawyer base because of the way we operate the business. So all day our head office staff are communicating with our lawyers from the admin, secretarial teams. We've got a marketing and business development team as well, which is also an area of support that we introduced a number of years ago because it adds something else to the relationship we have with our lawyers and shows we're not only supporting them with the actual administrative work to process transactions, but we're also assisting them in generating leads and inquiries. So there's a lot of interactions there. The interactions with the wellbeing department that I just mentioned take place on a daily basis, really, where we've got people reaching out to our lawyers on a regular basis. There's get-togethers, there's webinars that are organised by that department across various different subjects. Some of it might be to do with their own well-being, health and well-being. Some of it might be to do with how they might be able to market their services and make improvements. So it's a real mixture of sort of support and contact that the lawyers have on a daily basis, which really maintains that sort of sticky relationship that we have with our lawyers. But fundamentally, as Chris has already mentioned, it's the fact that our head office support understand the relationship we have with our lawyers, and they all work together in order to ensure that what we're really doing is providing an amazing service to clients. That's ultimately what we're all here to do. But it's a joined up approach, and I think everybody in the business understands what we're doing, particularly at head office, in order to deliver that service to the lawyers, who then deliver a great service to the clients.
I was looking on your LinkedIn post as well, and I noticed that you were recently nominated for some employee engagement programs as well. Is that generally all centered around those kind of wellbeing initiatives that you have in the business, or are there other things that you're working on to bring your people together?
Well, there's a lot of things actually internally. We were awarded the double gold accreditation in Investors in People very recently, which you may be aware of. And I think, as far as we're aware, we're the only firm globally to have received the double gold accreditation. We've also recently changed our HR department to people and culture, and that's also been at the heart of what we've been doing. So we've gone, to great lengths really internally to really invest in the people within the business, and that's a number of examples of where we've done that.
Your passion for people and what you guys are doing in the business for people really comes through here. And what I think is really interesting is that as somebody who doesn't work in the legal sector, some of these things are maybe not what we would typically expect to hear from law firms. You kind of have this maybe like an antiquated view of the law firm where it's this really kind of harsh environment, people are chained to their desks, working really hard, kind of doing their billable hours and then kind of moving off home for the day. So I can really see how your approach kind of appeals to people as like a new way of working and something that could be quite enticing for them. Have you guys noticed that kind of other law firms have taken note of that and kind of tried to replicate it, or just generally on similar journeys themselves as well?
We're not aware of any firm specifically that may be trying to sort of, I guess, mimic what we're doing. Certainly it's made some noise, and we sort of get a bit of feedback from time to time when we're interviewing people or when we're speaking to people, whether that be locally or otherwise, of firms that are looking to sort of roll out initiatives in order to improve staff engagement, staff retention, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, even when we were just a small business and we didn't have a lot of money, and we bootstrapped this place for many, many years, we reinvested pretty much everything we made, everything we could possibly scrape together in order to, back then, pay our support staff, decent salaries. When we didn't have kitchens and restaurants to supply food and drink, Guy and I used to go out to Starbucks on a Friday morning and pick everybody up, take nice coffees and breakfast from McDonald's and bring them back. And when we had our first office with a very small kitchen and a microwave, I used to come in and make all of our staff scrambled eggs on toast every day, or once a week, so that they had a hot breakfast. So, we started small and did what we could with what we had. The benefit we have today is we've been doing this. Well, the business has been going nearly 20 years. It's a successful, profitable business with nearly 800 people in it. And we're in a position, quite fortunately, where we can spend money and continue to spend money in areas to continue to improve. So that not all businesses, not all law firms are in that position. Now I'm sure I know of a lot of businesses, a lot of law firms out there. They do go to great efforts, similar to us. The key is to do what you can, but as the business has grown and the business has become more successful here at Setfords, we've just gone that step. Every time we've gone that much further in order to try and keep providing more and more.
It's the benefit we have as being the founders of the business. We didn't have to change it. We didn't join a business and then have to change the culture. We, as Chris said, we're people. A lot of what we've done is because we believe it's the right thing to do.
You mentioned before as well about how many lawyers you guys have directly applying to your business, and I can kind of see that instilling that culture that you've created is really a point of differentiation and drives people towards you. And I suppose for a lot of lawyers, if they're good at their job, there's probably a lot of opportunities for them. So this is a good way of kind of ensuring that you guys are able to get the best people to come and work in your organisation. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think it helps, definitely. Look, there's still, in terms of lawyers looking for optionality, there's still fairly limited choice. If you've got sufficient experience and you're good at what you do, where do you go? I mean, notwithstanding that there are different types of traditional law firms, up in terms of overall size, and therefore, the salary that you can earn or the package that you can receive will vary. It's still a tradition. They're still all traditional firms, and therefore it's associate partner, equity partner, right? And an opportunity possibly to move into management within those structures, but there's still only that sort of traditional structure to look at. And if you didn't want that, it was going to set up your own law firm. That's historically, that's pretty much it. When consultancy came along, platform law firms like Setfords, initially it was not regarded as a first choice career option. We had to, some of our earlier interviews with people, some of them, again, consultants still with us today, 15 years later, some of those interviews would take 2 days, or meet business meetings even. I mean, we sometimes we would meet somebody on a Friday, and then we'd book them into a hotel Friday night and carried on over breakfast on a Saturday morning to talk about what we were doing, why it would work for them, why we thought they should leave a job and set up as a consultant and come and work with a business like Setfords. So that's where this began. Now it's a first choice career option alongside equity partnership.
Yeah. We developed a very compelling offering. We've covered off quite a bit of it during this discussion around support, but very generous fee share arrangement. We've got the business and business development and marketing teams that help generate work for our lawyers. There's a lot to what we offer that many other firms aren't able to offer, because we've built it over time and refined what we do in order to put ourselves in a really good position. And we do attract really good quality lawyers. That's demonstrated through the reviews we get through Trustpilot. We're a top-ranking law firm on Trustpilot with over 10,000 reviews now. So it demonstrates that what we've built and the way we operate the business is a very compelling offering for lawyers, and it's proven out by the great service that the clients receive.
I guess, as you said before as well, as the kind of founders of the business, you've not had to kind of sort of pivot at any point. You've been able to do this kind of over the years, keep doing it better, keep doing it on a bigger scale. And I suppose that just really helps to make the business more and more attractive for other prospective employees. One of the other things that I think is quite interesting is from the kind of culture and people perspective as well. Do you think that there's a kind of knock-on effect of that onto the service that you're able to provide to your clients as well? I know you mentioned obviously lots of kind of 10,000 plus reviews on Trustpilot, and I think you're in the 4s overall, aren't you? So is that kind of reflective of the culture that you guys have built, and therefore it has a positive impact on your clients as well?
Well, it's partly cultural, and it's partly the support system that we built internally that enables them, frees up their time to not be dealing with admin work, and dedicate the time to the clients. I think that's probably what has driven the really great client service, which is the lawyers are providing the service to the client. There's no dilution of service. They're not taking work on and then handing it down to a trainee or paralegal and having teams of really, really junior people doing the work. The lawyers are doing the work, and we're doing all the heavy lifting in the background. And that's quite a unique offering, really, in any law firm across the country, because ultimately that's what customers want, that's what consumers want, that's what businesses want. They want a personal service from their lawyer, and it's quite difficult to achieve that in the traditional structure, because we haven't got hundreds of lawyers where we're paying them a salary. We're not housing all of those lawyers, and as a result, we're able to provide the sort of support that we offer. Whereas traditional firms have got different overheads and different demands, and where we invest in technology, it's to innovate and it's to improve what we're offering to our lawyers and ultimately what we're offering to our clients. In traditional law, a lot of investment will be going into trying to drive operational efficiencies and in order to improve margins, but we come at it from a different angle, which is looking after the lawyers so they can look after their clients. And as I said, it does show through in the reviews that we get. I think the other element to it is, because we've set out as our business as being a full service national law firm, there is a huge amount of cross referrals between our lawyers, different practice areas. So a conveyancing lawyer might refer a matter on to a family lawyer, or to a business lawyer if there's a business matter that needs to be dealt with. So there's a huge amount of cross referrals amongst the lawyer network. And the other benefit is there's the personal service locally. So we're a national firm with a local presence, because our lawyers have got that local knowledge because they're dotted around all over the country. So we're not sort of limited by a geographical sort of restriction, if you like. And that local knowledge does make a difference to the clients when they're instructing us and the advice that they receive.
I suppose sometimes as well there can be a bit of a cynical view to this as well. Like, people will say it's great to have a great culture and be people first and stuff like that, but there's obviously a lot of commercial things to run in the business as well, and you need to be a successful business and you need to be growing in a commercial sense, and it's kind of like you guys have got the best of both worlds. You've got that great culture, but you're also on a really good kind of growth trajectory, and that's kind of proven with all these great reviews you're getting from customers as well.
I mean, look, happy people provide a good service. It's as simple as that. And I know that sounds a bit corny, but that's just the reality. In anything in life, wherever you go, whenever you buy anything from anybody, if the individual that's selling you something is not particularly happy, you never receive a good service, right? So we've created an environment where we believe that the lawyers that work with us are genuinely happier in their careers. They're happier in their professional lives. There's no office politics. There's no billing targets. It's not necessarily work from home. It's work from anywhere. They can work from wherever they like. We get plenty that will work from abroad, or they genuinely will work on the beach. Having that level of freedom and to be masters of their own destiny, it empowers them. I think we're empowering lawyers to make those decisions for themselves and to work out what they want, when they want to work, and as I said earlier on, when they want to work, where they want to work, and how they want to work. And as a result, when they are working for a client, that's because they're choosing to, they're not, they don't get to the end of the day and then check again, billing targets and go, I haven't hit my billable hours today. There's none of that. So, all of that play. It's not the only thing, but it's an incredibly important part of making sure that the lawyers that work within this business provide a good service to the clients, and that's what sort of generates the Trustpilot reviews and the positivity that we get from in terms of client feedback.
And it's been controlled, sustained organic growth right the way through from day one, and that has been. It's assisted us in ensuring that we can reinvest in the business on an ongoing basis, which to the point you just made around, how does a business get to this sort of level? Well, we could have made the decision years ago not to invest in a business development and marketing teams and just said, well, let's not do that because, we'll make more profit if we haven't got those extra bums on seats. But we felt that it was the right thing to do because it added something else to the offering with the lawyers, and that sort of layered approach as the business has grown over the years has assisted us in getting to the stage that we're at now in the business, and we'll continue doing that as the business carries on growing.
And obviously there's a lot of positives that we've spoken about here around kind of growth and culture and being on a good trajectory. But are there any specific kind of challenges that you guys have encountered along the way, or things that you think other businesses should just be aware of when they're trying to do similar things? Yeah,
it's when we started the business, there wasn't really a blueprint for this, and we had to work it out for ourselves as we went along, and that's not easy, and it requires a lot of time and a lot of ongoing investment in order to come up with new ways of working, solutions to problems. And actually, I think that's been a bit of a barrier to entry for other lawyers and law firms that have looked at the way we work and thought about doing it themselves, and either tried and failed or didn't try at all. Because when you get stuck into the detail, it's not easy. It does take a lot of effort, and we've been at this a long time, and we're the best in the business, but we don't rest on our laurels. Every week, we're still sitting down addressing problems and ways that we can improve what we're doing. So it's there's a constant effort and a constant process required right from the beginning and right the way through, in order to drive growth. Because if our service delivery to our lawyers fails, if it's not good enough, and if we're not constantly honing and improving, then the lawyers wouldn't join, or the ones that we'd found that already would leave, and that would be a fundamental problem for any ambitious business or business people. So. I think in terms of, the question was, is there any advice you would give? I think you asked. You can't go into this half-heartedly. It's first of all, if you're doing it within professional services like legal service delivery, it's already difficult. Heavily regulated industry. Providing legal advice. It's hard. So that in itself makes it, you've got to go in with your eyes open, and then trying to build the infrastructure and the framework that can provide support to lawyers, to them to provide a difficult service is equally as hard again. And then you've got to constantly be improving and finding solutions in order to allow the business to do what it needs to do and to grow, and then chuck in the changing landscape around us at the same time, whether it be regulatory landscape that is constantly evolving and changing, and you have to constantly address that. And we've got a large team of regulatory and compliance experts that sit here within Guildford, very, very experienced lawyers from a variety of different backgrounds that don't fear any longer. They now work internally within this business and provide the advice that our lawyers that are providing legal advice require, so that they can stay compliant. Building out even a compliance and regulatory framework within an organisation and remaining compliant is in and of itself a difficult thing to achieve. So it's worth it. It's worth the effort. You're right. The business is successful. We're very proud of what we've collectively achieved here, but it hasn't come without difficulties, and certainly it's something that has required a lifelong professional effort from us. I mean, we got into this when we were in our 20s, and I'm happy to say guys older than me, we're not far away from our 50s. And I'm sure we'll be doing it as we're approaching our 60s. So, but it's a life's effort to get it to work, to get it to work in the first place, to get it to grow, and to keep it going. Yeah,
and to stay focused. I think, just to build on what Chris has just said, we stayed focused on this business and what we're doing. We haven't got sidetracked with other projects, and I think that's something that can creep into other businesses, growing businesses, that can cause a distraction in your growth journey. But we've, as I said at the beginning, we've always had that same vision for what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to do, same goals and objectives, and that alignment has enabled us to drive the growth. So I think that would be the last bit of advice in answer to your question, which is stay focused on your business and maintain that sort of perseverance to get the results that you want.
So we spoke about quite a few different kind of interesting initiatives there, whether that's the wellbeing department or making breakfast for the team back in the day as well. But what I'm kind of really interested in is how you guys kind of keep innovating yourselves there. Like, are you looking at certain businesses and thinking, these guys do culture really great, we should be like that? Or are you just coming up with ideas out of your own minds at times?
I think it's all of the above. So look, despite the fact that we're sort of founder CEOs, we're here in Guildford every day. We speak to everybody every day. We work directly with all of our department heads to look at ways to support them and to do things better on a daily basis. And of course, we have our own ideas, but we've got a lot of great people that are coming in with a lot of creativity, and a lot of things we're doing today are in no small part thanks to that creativity that's been coming into the business, of people that believe in what we're doing and want to put their stamp on it. And are coming up with great ideas, and it's a joy to be able to sort of say, brilliant, we're wholly supportive, let's get on with it. So there's obviously that on one side. On the other side, in terms of what are other people doing, we're very curious business owners. We don't just sort of sit here with the blinkers on, not looking around at what's going on in the wider world. We read a lot, we get out a lot, we're always looking at what other people and other organisations are doing, and to be quite frank, if somebody's doing something really well and they've had a great idea, we wouldn't hesitate to consider doing it ourselves. Look, I think a lot of the most successful businesses have done exactly that. So I think it's just be curious and have your head up, looking horizon scanning and see what's going on, and see whether what you're seeing out in the wider world. Is it working? Are other people doing something new? Is it working for them, and would it work for us? Is I think, in my view, an important part of, I guess, the value that we continue to add in this business.
Yeah, particularly out of sector. I mean, if you're looking, as you said, take the blinkers off, look outside the sector that you're working in, it's quite amazing and eye-opening when it comes to the ideas you can generate and evolve yourself and embed within your business. One example might be just the delivery of client service. How do you improve that? How do you combine the personal service with the use of technology in order to, deliver the service in a way that consumers want it delivered? That is a prime example of something that is on our minds all the time. And we've got amazing people that work in the business on our tech and innovation teams, where we're having those conversations regularly. We're trying to come up with ideas, tools, solutions in order to improve what we're doing. So I think Chris is right. It's fundamentally important, and that curiosity and having your eyes open to what else is out there, and those ideas from the people in the business. I think it's very easy not to listen to what people are saying, or not even to ask people for their ideas. So we're the opposite. We embrace it. We want to know what people think. I mean, some of the best ideas in the business might have come from somebody that works in the administration department, where they just happened to fill in a suggestion through our suggestion box system, and it might have made a massive difference to, how we deliver part of the service. So being prepared to embrace that and listen to people is probably a really important message.
So there's lots of great tips there, many different things. I've got just one more question for you guys, actually, and I'm just really interested to know what's kind of next for Setfords.
I think, there's ongoing refinement in terms of core service offering, the way that the manner and the way in which we support our lawyers. But a huge focus internally at the moment is with the technology that we're currently using, and we've been building out our internal technology team now for the last few years across platform, data, and infrastructure. And we've got a number of projects underway right now which are starting to go live and will be going live into 2025, which will provide better tools for both our lawyers and our support staff to continue to do what they're doing. We perhaps have to come back on another podcast with you guys if you'll have us in the months to come, and we can perhaps give you a bit more information about what we're working on. But certainly that's been a big focus for us for a few years, and as you probably know, technology takes time to do it right. We started for some of the projects we're working on now that are due to go live over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Some of those projects have been 5-6 years in the making through initial planning phases. As you may know, we've got investors. We've been through a couple of rounds of private equity investment. So getting everybody along for that journey, planning, finding the right team, building, and then releasing. That's a lengthy process, but we've put a lot of time, a lot of investment, and we're starting to see the fruits of our labour. So it's a case of watching this space, I think.
It's been really interesting to speak with you both today about your culture and all the innovative things you're doing at Setfords. And there's some really interesting parallels between a lot of what we do here at Moneypenny, which is great to see. So I'd just like to wrap up by saying thank you both so much for spending some time today with us and talking to us about that journey. It's been really interesting, and I hope that our listeners will value that too.
Great. Yeah, no problems. Good to chat.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the On the Up podcast, brought to you from Moneypenny. Stay tuned for our next episode coming soon.